So here was the first thing I did. When I first started my first idea, I had no money. So my first question was, how do I find money? As a student, you have access to what's called student business plan competitions. That was a really big thing for me. So what my college was offering was a business plan competition. The winner would receive $5,000 over 2 years. So $2,500 year one, $2,500 year two. We said, we are going to win this competition. And that's exactly what we did. We did everything that we could to make sure we put together the best plan, presented the best idea to the judges, and it was part of our entrepreneurship class. So what I recommend to tons of students is Google student entrepreneurship. Find out if your high school, if your college, if the local JA, the local DECA organization has a business plan competition, gsea.org, they have a lot of regional competitions as well. There's tons of money out there specifically for students. So even if you don't think you have money, the money exists if you can find a good business plan competition. Here's the main reason why we won the business plan competition, in my opinion. And we actually teach business plan presentation skills to students. And one of the things we tell to students when I go into the classroom is you have to be 100% honest with a few things. One, what you know for sure, and what you believe. Those are two very different things. And let me take a step back. Here's the formula that my mentor shared with me that we followed exactly, and this is what helped us win. This is really a step-by-step formula. Number one, what problem are you solving? There's 5 questions I'm going to ask you. Number one, what problem are you solving? We're creating this business because people have this problem, this pain. If you can solve that pain, then you have a step for a business. But that's only step one. Step two is, how is your solution unique? If you're going to open up a lawn care system, you're going to mow people's lawns. Why am I going to choose you over Joe Blow down the street? So one, what problem do you solve? Two, how is it unique? Three, how will you make money? Specifically, what is your revenue model? A lot of people today say, oh, I'm going to create this cool fandangled iPhone app, or I'm going to do this really cool thing, and I'm going to give to the community, which is great, but they haven't figured out how are you going to make money from it. So you have to have a very clear idea of this is how we're going to get money. The next step is the problem ready to be solved? You can have a great idea, but if it's 20 years before people catch up to you, like say the electric car, which is a great concept, but it wasn't ready in the 80s when it first came out and failed, it's not going to work. And finally, how will it be sustainable? What are you going to do so that today you'll be in business, and if things change tomorrow, you can still shift what you're doing? So those are 5 core questions that if you can answer specifically and directly, you'll put yourself far above most people. And here's the key. You have to have an answer to all 5 questions. 4 out of 5, you fail. It has to be 5 for 5. There's 2 types of business plans that you write. And this is what a lot of people won't share, but it's what I truly believe. There's a business plan that you write to get funding, and there's a business plan you write to actually use. Chances are those are 2 very, very different things. For me, my business plan is what are the next action steps that I'm taking, what problem am I solving, and what's the bigger picture of it. For me, that's all I need, the 5 questions and that concept. And if you have that, you have an action step. When you start getting into a lot of the minutia of how many different competitors exist, what's the SWOT analysis, which is great information, but for most people, again, it's information overload, so they don't use it. However, a lot of people are looking for a very specific pattern when they look at a business plan. So to meet those needs, you have to have it. If you can write that particular style business plan in a way that creates an action plan for you, it's a good business plan. However, there's nothing wrong with writing the formal business plan and then having your 1-page action sheet to move forward. So for me, the first one that I wrote, it was, I just want to do something that's going to show what we want to do. And then we created our kind of real business plan, which was a 1-page action guide. So it was clear, easy, actionable. So when we first started, it was an internet idea. I don't know how to build an internet a website. My partner at the time didn't know it. So for example, we would say, we need to find someone who builds websites. So our action step was put up flyers on our campus to find and interview someone who develops websites. So that to me is a very specific step. I need to build a website. How do I find the people? Well, let's start with the lowest hanging fruit. Lowest hanging fruit are the closest people to you. So we started with college students. The next step we said is, okay, how are we going to make money from it? We weren't very clear at it at the time. We said that we wanted to charge, but we weren't sure how we would charge. So we had to actually sit down and say, what's the easiest way for us to make money? And our first idea was, let's give it away for free. We'll build it and we'll give it away completely for free. And once we have a few people saying that they actually liked our service, then we'll start charging, which is a strategy I recommend for a lot of people. People don't want to be the first person to dance. You know, if you go out to a party, no one wants to be the first person dancing. However, if you can say, hey, look at these 5 people that's used our service and has enjoyed it, they don't need to know that you gave it to them for free. So our goal was get 5 people using our service for free so we can get testimonials. We sold that business, so it's still in operation, but someone else is running it right now. And we do full-time the tour events and the things that I told you before. What we do now in our business is that we have daily huddle meetings. The daily huddle meeting is a meeting in the morning at around 8:45 a.m. and it lasts about 15 minutes, and then a meeting at night at around 5 p.m. that lasts about another 15 minutes. And what we do if we have a new idea is we usually give ourselves 1 to 2 hours, not more than that, to say, here's what the new idea is, here's how we're thinking about working. And we always ask ourselves, what are our next steps? A lot of people say, this is a great idea and I feel really good about it. But now what we do is we do in 15-minute chunks every single day. What do you plan on doing today? Is the first 15-minute meeting. The second meeting is, what have you got done? And if we have a new idea, we put in a 1 to 2 hour space to say, here's what I think we need to be doing to move forward. And if we don't have progress by the next meeting, then we say to ourselves, this may not be a good idea. So as long as you're making progress and you're saying to yourself, well, we have this new idea, who can we bring in, who can we talk to, how can we leverage what we already have done? So a very, very specific example of that is we've been doing tons of tours for college students throughout the country. When we had the idea of doing our summit, which is our tour where we have people who are top entrepreneurs, educators, funders come in, we said, well, let's start with our lowest hanging fruit. The colleges that we've already spoken to, let's invite those contacts to see if they'd want to come to our event. So it's taking something that we already had and leveraging it for a different event. And then that's blown up into the event that we have now. Yes, we use Google Docs. So what we do to write our ideas down is that we're a big believer in Google Docs. It's a great thing to collaborate amongst people. So we use spreadsheets a lot. So like cell A might say what the task is, right? So column A is what the task is, column B is who the task is assigned to, and column C is when does it need to be done by. So we might say something like, we want to do the Future of Entrepreneurship Education Summit, and we want to have 5 college presidents attend our event. Then we'll say we need to research who are 5 college presidents that we may know. Then we'll say, Arel, you will reach out to these 5 college presidents by Tuesday the 15th and see if they're interested in attending something like this. So you have what it is, who's doing it, and when you expect it to be done by. And we use, you can use Excel, but we use Google Docs because our team is all over the country, and it allows us to keep on track and move forward towards our goals. Again, the whole goal has to be specific, who's doing it, and how do you measure it. Being young and having employees is somewhat difficult. The first employees that I actually had were about twice my age. So it's an interesting power struggle of getting someone who kind of sees you as their kid's age listening to you. And for us, that didn't really work out. Then what we did is we started hiring younger talent because we realized for us, having talent that respected us and looked up to us but were still good at what they did was more important than having someone who was good that we had to convince that what we were doing made sense. So for us, it was definitely a struggle, but now I think we're on a path that makes a lot of sense and is working really well for us. And we employ 6 people full-time now. So I didn't have any formal exit strategy. Our goal was to make it into $1 billion company and then some big company would buy us. That was the perfect world. But the truth of the matter is we worked it for a long time, and after a while I started saying, you know what, I'm not as interested in this as I once was. And it was a very difficult time for me. So here's the progression of exactly how it happened. I told my friends, well, my friends were my business partners, that it's something that I don't know if I'm a good fit for anymore. Because I believe if you're not passionate about it anymore, it's going to show in your work. And I felt like it was showing very much in my work. So I asked my business partners if they'd be willing to buy off my shares of the company, which they did. And then later, a small company, not as small than ours, a small company bought the rights to all of our software and our products, and then they kept moving on. So it happened to be the right time, right space, but it came from a decision on the inside saying, this isn't something that I really care for anymore, and I need to move into something that I do care about. Staying focused is one of the most difficult things I think that I have to deal with. I always feel like my mind is jumping around. If you're anything like me, you have a thought that comes in here, and then someone asks you a question, and you forget the question, and then you jump to another thing. So focus is a big problem. I think the biggest asset that I have is the team members we have very, very unique and different skill sets. Here's what that means. If you're really good at keeping people organized and you're really good at talking to people, maybe you should partner up and have the person who's organized keep the person who likes talking doing well. Biggest advice for somebody who's interested in being an entrepreneur who does not have entrepreneurs in their family or around them. Biggest piece of advice is two things. One, start reading books. If you don't like reading books on biographies of people, go to YouTube and type in entrepreneurship, or go to TED.com and watch videos of people. I really think that you need to surround yourself in the environment. So step one is you need to immerse yourself in the environment of successful people. And that might come from picking up a 99-cent book called Rich Dad Poor Dad on Amazon, which is a great read. It might be picking up the Student Success Manifesto and reading it from cover to cover. If you can't read, watch a 5-minute video. Just get the ideas into your mind. And the second thing is you have to get rid of some things in your life that are holding you back. Friends that aren't doing anything productive, all they're gonna do is hold you down. And one of the most difficult things for me to do was tell certain people in my life that I love you, but I can't spend as much time with you as I used to. I didn't actually have that conversation, but it's what I did with my actions. Because if people, your friends, I grew up in the projects, a lot of friends of mine are in jail, a lot of friends of mine have been shot and killed, and if I would have stayed hanging out with them, that probably would have happened to me. So the hardest thing to say is, you know what? I'm deciding that for my life, I want it to be something special. So I need to stop hanging out with these people who I know are knuckleheads and start surrounding myself with videos, with books, with teachers, with mentors, with great groups like Nifty, for example. Get involved with what they're doing. And that's how you become successful, almost by magic, if you will. If you surround yourself with successful people and you surround yourself with negative people, you will become successful. It's almost guaranteed.